Hi again, Unit Crowd. Welcome to the Advanced Rigging tutorial for RageTools and RageSuite. In this tutorial, you're gonna learn how to bring a character like this, split in layers, okay, which is usually called a separate parts or a cutout style character, where you simply have each part that you want to animate, to rotate separately in a unique layer, how to bring it over to Unity. In this tutorial, we're only going to use Photoshop and Unity, okay? No third-party vector editor applications. So how to bring it in, how to properly prepare image, to set up the channels and bleeds that you're going to need, how to export it to a proper transparent PNG, how to import it, how to set the hierarchy, the pivots, the controllers, okay, like these that you can see here, which we've shown in the basic rigging tutorial video, how to set up RageIK, which is an extremely powerful component that allows you to select an IK controller like this one and just move a lamb around, okay? Even a modus segment lamb as a tentacle or tail or a cape, whatever you need, and set up limits so that it doesn't rotate past a certain point, okay? Or you can use it to keep feet put on the ground, like in this case where I can grab this root controller and move it around, okay? And it's gonna make sure that the feet is in place. How to set up Rage button, which is our super interactive, easy to use component that allows you to build really sophisticated interactivity without writing a single line of code. So for instance, I have all these twins, all these animations that I can play, click in, all the behavior that you're seeing here was built without a single line of code. Very nice for you to set up your panels, your option screens, okay? And this is also using our other components like Rage text to generate the text with our new Toonie font, right? How to set up the style so that it shows with the color that you want, okay? So yeah, lots of cool things that we're gonna see here, lots of ground to cover, okay? Also a very important new feature, as you can see here, that I switched the drawings, okay, of the hand, like closed hand and open hand. This is the new feature called Switch Set, which is already available in latest versions of RageTools and RageSuite, of course. And that makes it very easy for you to switch the drawings during your animation, how you can set this up right in the animation window, right in the native animation window editor, okay? So this is gonna be a very lengthy and a very cool tutorial, right? So lots of things for you to learn about. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so here in Photoshop, the first thing you'll need to do is obviously make sure that you have only transparent layers, right? Make sure that you have a transparent background that you can easily disable, and then you will need to lay out those pieces like separately, okay? So this is what people usually call an atlas. So if you're just using vector graphics, you definitely don't need an atlas, right? But if you're using a bitmap graphic like that, you will need an atlas, because obviously if you don't have an atlas, you won't be able to separate the parts visually, okay? Layers are flattened out when this image is imported inside Unity, so it's important to you to do that. Okay, so there are many ways to do it. We just take the slightly more manual approach. You could use a script to lay it out for you, something like that. We're also researching other ways to make it easier for you, probably with the new component. But for now, let's just go to canvas size, okay, and image canvas size, and make sure to have at least that's 2048 should be enough. I make the same for the height. It's gonna crop a little bit, but it's no big deal because Photoshop actually stores the information. So if something had clipped it, I could have just moved it upwards, no problem. So, well, you can now lay out the parts as as you want. Actually, there's absolutely no rule for that. Okay, so let's just, I use the auto select layer option with the select tool so that I can simply click each part and move it separately. In this case, the head and the neck, I'm gonna just flatten this into a single shape. I just use the Command E or Control E shortcut to turn it into a single layer, and then I can just move it wherever I want. Of course, due to the snapping, which default in Photoshop, it's probably gonna get too close to the edge. That's not recommended when you're working with bitmaps, because the thing's gonna generate bitmaps, and then you might run into issues if you get too close to the edge, right? We have a guy disabled here. It's one of the hand shapes. I just move the hands close to each other, so just enable it, move it, and so on and so forth. Okay, the only thing that you must be aware of is that you don't have to reserve, okay, a rectangular area as you normally have when you're creating bitmap graphics atlases, because pretty much every other sprite solution for Unity depends on quads, which are perfect rectangles, as in a non-tilted side, a non-slanted size, or any regular convex concave shape. But since we're going to be using Rage splines to define that, you can actually be more lenient in your placement. Just don't get them right like that. That wouldn't work, obviously, but don't be so concerned about reserving a perfect rectangle around each image. Okay, so I've just opened a pre-laid out image. Okay, no big deal, just having those separate parts laid out like that, like you're seeing, and you'll be able to notice that intentionally I have left some parts really close. This definitely wouldn't work using a regular bitmap graphics solution that just relies on quads. And you're gonna see as we follow along this tutorial why I did this. So the important thing now that everything is laid out is to make sure that your transparency works right. Okay, so to do that, we'll need to first flatten everything. Okay, let me just make sure that all layers are visible. Right, I won't need that reference old one. So yeah, I basically flatten these guys, just merge everything, merge visible, Control Shift E or Command Shift E on the Mac. I've also darkened the shadow a bit. So the trick now is to make sure that we select the transparency, just Control click here at the thumbnail of the layer. Okay, then you're gonna go to Select, Save Selection, and just use the New Channel option, okay, by default. And you see that a new channel has showed up here. If I just click it, you see how it works. So this is actually what's gonna define our transparency right inside Unity, and I'm doing it this way just because I'm gonna demonstrate this for Unity 3.5. For Unity 4.2, which I'm not sure if it was released or not, but definitely Unity 4.2 includes the ability for you to just save this as is, okay, without doing this procedure that I'm working on right now. If you don't do that on older versions, you're gonna get fringe problems like licking white border around your separate graphics, right? So if you're using a newer version of Unity, you might just save the PSD as is. There are many things you would want to do now, probably. One of them is just hit the quick mask mode, or just click this button here, and then simply be able to paint using black kind of gradation, which is kind of how this shape, this drawing would fade when applied on top of other shapes. You can simply paint it using a soft brush like that, okay, and you could also make sure that your shapes are well rounded. For that I mean that let me show a good example. A shape like this, okay, if you check the hand on top of it, like this one, rotating over it, you will probably notice that the best shape is a kind of an oval, thin oval shape like that. Well, no matter how you rotate the hand, it's gonna show up one side or the other, and it's still gonna look good. Okay, so this is mostly a part of tasks. You would just grab your shape, put on top of the other one, and just use the Control T for transform and just rotate it. Use Alt click to set the pivot inside Photoshop so it rotates around the right point, and then you test it out and see if it looks good on the extreme positions that you're going to use in your animation, and so on and so forth. Okay, just a couple of tips. This is mostly art related, but it definitely makes a difference. You also will want to have some shapes with no black lines if you're using an art style like that, and these areas tend to cause some problems, right? So to prevent that is that you paint over their blending area like that, just using a black brush on the quick mask mode. There are other ways, of course. It's just one of the most efficient ones, so just paint them over like that. And in practice, what happens is that when you leave the quick mask mode, this can be like ignored. You won't have double transparency blending, which causes many problems, right? What's actually going to happen is that only the transparency of the alpha is going to show. So you would just do that all around these open areas, making sure that things work properly. Okay, so the next step after you do this is to simply export your image as a PNG. Once again, if you're not using the latest Unity versions, you will need to use Save As and select the format Super Ping, right, which is a plugin which I've shown the link in the basic rigging tutorial video, right? So just save it as a super ping. I usually recommend that before doing that you also enable the black background. Things get really obvious that you're having this flat and only the alpha channel is being used as a transparency. Okay, and then you just save it as, select super ping, and when you hit save, of course place it inside your Unity project. Make sure that you have alpha 1 selected here. Okay, metadata is not necessary in this case, so just hit OK and it's done, and we'll be able to move to the next step, and that'll be in the next video. See you there.